Let's keep learning about all the cool things that if statements can do. So right now we have an example where we have a Boolean. Light is on, it's equal to true. We use an if statement on line 3 to say if the light is on, meaning that if that variable is true, print out line 4, the light is on. So if we go ahead and run this, we can see that text showing up in the console. If this is false and we run this code, you'll notice that we get nothing in the console. And that's expected. That's what we wanted. We didn't want anything there. But how nice would it be able to say, if this thing is false, let's print to the console, the light is off. Wouldn't it be nice to be able to do that? Well, we can in Python. So let's go ahead on line 5. Let's write else, all lowercase, colon, and then on the next line, and make sure that you're tabbed over, let's print. So in this case, this means that the light is off. We're going to print out something like we're in the dark. So let's go ahead and run this and see now when light is on is equal to false, we get line 6 running. So we have printed out to the console, we're in the dark. And if we set it equal to capital true and run that, we get the light is on. Do you see how this now with this if statement, we can do things if it's true and also if it's false. We have the ability to work with either or, this or that. Isn't that excellent? And we can take this concept even one step further. So what we can do is we can take variables and compare things with them to ultimately say yes or no to a certain line of code. So let's go ahead and bring back an example we were working with earlier. I'm going to say weight is equal to 190.4. So let's say I want to make sure that my weight is under 195 pounds. Maybe, I'm doing some sort of diet thing and I want to make sure that it's below that. What I can do is I can make an if statement and use a comparison to generate a Boolean. So I can say if weight is less than, and you do this little caret sign, if the weight is less than 195 colon, and then what I can do is print out something that says you're underweight, smiley face, okay? So if we go ahead and run this code, look what happens. Because 190.4 is less than, it's below 195, I get printed to the console, you're underweight. So what we've done here is we've made a comparison. We're taking an existing variable on line 8, the weight, and on line 10, we're using it to compare and say, is this thing less than 195? And ultimately, this comparison here, this generates a Boolean. When the weight is less than 195, that makes a Boolean. For example, I could copy this chunk of code and paste it up here for if the light is on, and this is completely valid code. Well, it's not valid code because the weight has not been set up before that line, so I'd have to put weight is equal to 190.4, and then this would still work, and that's kind of a silly example, but it's all to illustrate that when we compare two things in Python, ultimately it turns into a Boolean. It turns into true or false. So as you can see here, we got the if the weight is under 195, there's all sorts of comparisons that we can do. We can say if it's less than or equal to, so that if it's 195 exactly, that's also included. We can go the other direction. We can say greater than or equal to. If we also do two equal signs, that means if weight is exactly equal to 195. If we do an exclamation point and an equal sign, that says if these two things are not the same. So you kind of see how we can use these different comparisons to really make our code come alive and do different things. So to make sure that you've got a great grasp on this, I've got a challenge for you. So what I'd like you to do is make a variable called age, and if someone is 18 years or older, print out that they're an adult. Otherwise, print out that they're a child. Okay? Go ahead, hit pause, do this now. Okay, hopefully that went well for you. So I'm going to start first by making a variable called age, and I'm going to set it equal to my age of 32. Then I'm going to start working on my if statement. So we need to say if someone is 18 years or older. So I'm going to say if age is greater than or equal to 18 colon, And then in this situation, I want to print out that they're an adult. So I'm going to say print, and inside the parentheses, I will say adult. And then I'm going to do an else, and it's really important. Make sure your else is not tabbed over. I'm going to bring it back to the left by deleting those extra lines. And then the part that is tabbed over is this next print statement where I'll say this person is a child. Okay? So let's go ahead and run this to make sure it's working. So if the age is 32, it says they're an adult. If the person is 18, it still says they're an adult, but if I go down to something like 17, then it says that they are a child.